Okay, awesome. Hi, welcome to our fourth day of our Speak Up, Sing Out event. My name is Sadie McCrae. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm going to be your host and later co-host for this segment's performance and panel. Today we have on Jolly Rapper, who performed yesterday as well, and you can watch his evening performance from yesterday on YouTube or on his personal page on the event calendar of our website. Would you be able to give us your name, pronouns, and an identity you have that's important to you? You are muted.
Still?
No, got you now.
Okay, I saw the little microphone, but it wasn't working. Okay. My name is Jolly Rapper. That's rapper with a W. My pronouns are he, him. What was the question?
Just what's an identity you have that's important to you?
That's a deep question. I'll say probably an artist. That's a good one.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a solid identity to have. We have some interview questions for you, but did you want to perform before them or do you want to do the questions first?
Whatever you want.
Okay. Are you ready to perform then?
Yeah. I'm probably I'm gonna do a poem and then I'm gonna do songs.
Awesome.
Let me pull up a poem just in case I mess up and I want to look at it. It's about my mom because I really love my mom. And I should have done this before. I'm sorry.
Totally fine.
No. Okay, here we go. Okay. This poem is titled, let me scoot back. This title, okay, I'm gonna stand up. This poem is titled The Risk I Dared Take. In the kitchen is where my mother was, wearing her favorite gravy-stained apron. Over and up her buttoned-up button-up. Yeah, that shirt she wore when she was painting, she always wore that shirt. Why? It had me puzzled much. Like, did she not notice the buttons were breaking? Though the shirt was creased and roughened up, it's always been here, she just couldn't replace it. Why you always worried so much? Quit acting like you really won't make it, she said to me as she was making me lunch. Oh, I'm not worried, you must be mistaken. It's just these lyrics and ideas that I keep bundled up in my mind seem to be making me anxious. I know these lyrics aren't very much, but soon these are what will be making me famous. I peeked over her shoulder, leaned over the open drawer full of old knives that were dull and broken. Without knowing it, I nose dove into a homeful aroma that arose from the warm stove. And by the way, Mom, what you making? Nudging me out the way, she sounded irritated. Sorry, but you have to keep waiting. I'm making your favorite. I'm cooking, quit pacing, not playing, be patient. I wondered, what's the occasion? Got tired of waiting and I just couldn't take it. Smelled so good I could basically taste it. My stomach was aching. That food I was craving turned the corner and the sight was amazing. Now, I'm not exaggerating when I say that day I started fainting. Gazing in amazement, her creations had me changing faces. Went from nappy and bland to happy and glad. Listen to eggs get cracked on a pan. Glistening eggs go splash in a pan. Sizzling eggs go cracking and splat on the pan. Witness potatoes get slashed into halves. So many memories that I have had with that pan. Seeing my mother gripping the pan with her withering hands, flipping and whipping and tipping the pan, seeing how quickly it swished in her hands. You can't begin to imagine or fathom the way that she handled the pan. Knew the kitchen like the back of her hand. I was plotting and planning the actions of snatching the snacks in the back of the cabinet, taking my chances and acting a savage. Would this catastrophe actually happen? That was my last thought. Passing the asking when grabbing the glass jar, distracting her glances, and that wasn't that hard. But accidents happen. Gasped as I managed to make a gigantic glass fall. She wasn't that far, shattered in half of a second, as loud as a crack in the asphalt. Oh snap, it just happened. That is the last straw. She snapped it and started slapping and smacking the back of my hand hard. But those homemade cookies were the risk I dared take. Do I just keep going or what?
That was amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I really like that poem because it's fun to perform and it's like really rapidy rap. I guess I'll leave it up to you. Do you want me to do a song or another poem?
Whatever you'd like to do, whatever you're feeling right now.
Decisions. I mean, I guess I'll just do this then. Yeah. Auto-tune. Okay. I'm living, I'm writing till the night ends winning. I'm fighting like I'm violent. Your mind is the brightest. Now isn't this exciting? Think I really like it. I think I really like it. Said I'm living, I'm writing till the night ends winning. I'm fighting like I'm violent. Your mind is the brightest. Now isn't this exciting? I think I really like it. I think I really like it. I be waking up, I'm creating different sounds. Friends who cut me off or coming back. Like how is it now? It's been a while. Their true intentions always hard to figure out. Me and rap will stay together, Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse. I don't need a smoke, I just get higher than the peak of now. Never rest, can't have a problem, seek them out and speak them out. Puffing all that smoke, like y'all played a part in hippie crowds. Puffing all that smoke, you made Mary Poppins chimney proud. Hey, stay in the cuts like I'm making decisions. I split like division. If you got a heart, that means you a musician, cause your heart is beating with rhythm. There are no limits for living, but it can be finished in minutes. Hit the ground running, begin with a sprinting. I am a sissy, and sissy, you get it. Once you do get it, you wait it, and don't you forget it. It can be ripping, you're gripping it instant. Burning the bridges or learning forgiveness. This is me something without the persistence, yeah. In between, you're either in or out, yeah. And the only time to live is now. I'm living, I'm writing till the night ends winning. I'm fighting like I'm violent. Your mind is the brightest. Now isn't this exciting? Think I really like it. I think I really like it. Said I'm living, I'm writing till the night ends winning. I'm fighting like I'm violent. Your mind is the brightest. Now isn't this exciting? Think I really like it. No matter what they try to tell me, I ain't losing hope. Just check in with my past, when my future telling no. I feel it in my bones. I see it in my mind, even though I'm on my own. Just know that I'll be fine, staying on my path, making my own lane, always prepared, I'm ready to throw flames, lyrics and sparks, the flows, the propane codes, so hop on my heart, coated in snowflakes, I remember when they said I was so lame, told me to go away, told me to go play, now when they see me, they ask me to showcase me for a double cross, keep better than both ways, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Ooh. Did you like that song?
That was great.
Thank you. Do you have any requests? I really don't know what to do.
Totally fine. Do you have like a favorite poem to perform or a favorite song to perform?
I guess I'll do Oh Well. The song is called Oh Well, Oh Well. And that's how the whole song goes. It's just those two words. So if you guys want to sing along at home, feel free to, because it's really easy. If it'll play, please play. Wait, okay, there it is. I'm feeling jolly. Oh well, oh well. Oh well, oh well. Oh well, oh well. Oh well, I can't get no sleep. Oh well, oh well. Got no food to eat. Oh well, it's getting hard for me to think. Oh well, sometimes I forget to breathe. Oh well, I can't get no sleep. Oh well, got no food to eat. Oh well, it's getting hard for me to think. Oh well, sometimes I forget to breathe. Oh well. This one's for the family that ain't get to see me grow. This one's for the fans who know the lyrics at my shows. This one's for the that nobody knows. This one's for the people who get high when they feel low. This one's for the ones who say it's too late to change. For the better, it's okay to change. The 2 days today for them nutty north kids who drink Kool-Aid on 2 days who shoot game is 2 flames of flame. For the ones who say I can't get no sleep. Oh well, got no food to eat. Oh well, it's getting hard for me to think. Oh well, sometimes I forget to breathe. Oh well, I can't get no sleep. Oh well, it's getting hard for me to think. Oh well, it's getting hard for me to breathe. Oh well, sometimes I forget to breathe. Oh well, oh well, yeah. And that was called Oh Well, Oh Well, Oh Well, Oh Well. I'm gonna pull a fast one. Next song. This one's pretty sad. Yeah. Dun, dun. Reminiscing on those simple days. I really miss them days. I've been thinking of those simple days. I've been missing all them simple days. Reminiscing on those simple days. I really miss them days. I've been thinking of those simple days. I've been missing all them simple days. If I knew my future would turn out like this today, I would have spent more of my time doing dumb stuff. If I could find a younger me, then I would say, You should spend more of your time doing things that make your blood rush, things that make your tongue numb, things that make you dumb fun. People be like, are you good? Hit them with the thumbs up. We already know that I'ma be the greatest. They see it on my flow and they say, man, he's gonna make it cause I'm winning it. They looking at me, I'm getting it. They said accent and I'm waiting, I'm spitting it. I just keep going, I just keep going. I ain't freestyling cause I forgot the words, but that's okay. I'm gonna keep it going like everything. Cause you know me, I never hesitate. I'm running from the heaven gate, yeah. Yeah, I've been running on those hateful days. I really miss them days. I've been thinking of those simple days. I've been missing all these simple days. Reminiscing on those simple days. I really miss them days. I've been thinking of those simple days. I've been missing all these simple days. Okay, that's all you get. That's all you get. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm just showing you all the snippets at this point. Okay, after this, you can probably ask me questions. Because I know you love to ask me questions, right? Yeah. Y'all wasn't there from the beginning. Funny, yo, you come around once you see that I'm winning. Back when I was down, nobody asked me how I'm feeling. Okay. Y'all wasn't there in the beginning. Funny how you come around once you see that I'm winning. Back when I was down, nobody asked me how I'm feeling. So don't ask me why I'm winning. And it knows about my business. And don't worry about it. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about anything that you can't see. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about anything I say up on the track. Yeah, don't worry about it. Oh my goodness, yeah, I'm feeling jolly. They didn't wanna mess with me, that's not cool. That didn't rhyme, it doesn't have to. Cause you got me in a really bad mood. I don't have the tattoo, but I want one. I be breathing flames like a dragon. Okay, that's all. I'm just messing around at this point.
That was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we just want to ask, you answered this question yesterday, and I just wanted to ask again and see if maybe your answer changed overnight, or if you could just share again with today's audience. So I wanted to ask, what does intersectional youth power mean to you?
Man, I had a really good answer for this yesterday, and I wish I remembered, and I'm afraid my answer is going to be worse than yesterday, but I'll try. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, totally. What does intersectional youth power mean to you?
You know, when I think of that, the first thing that comes to mind is when there's a big picture, right? And everybody's looking at this picture and they're all saying their own ideas. And that's the power in it. But we have to divide that picture up and distribute it amongst the people who don't usually get power. And that's the youth and like the people that, I don't know what I'm saying. It means getting power and like chopping it up and making sure everybody has a say in the matter and is able to contribute to the greater cause at hand, I think.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great answer to say. I did want to ask, this question sort of has two sides, and answer however you would like, but like how has your music been involved in like social justice and activism in Portland? Or if that doesn't spark anything, how has activism in Portland helped shape your music?
Those are two good questions. I like to, well, sometimes I'll get gigs where they would want me to speak at this event and perform and do songs, like at a social justice event or something like that. But mostly my poetry gets like people love my poetry, and I feel like it's easier to perform poetry like out in the streets and like when there's protests happening or marches or rallies. That's where I would do some poetry. People don't really like my music like that, but I guess some people do. But vice versa, all the stuff that's happening has been really resonating in my mind to let me absorb what's going on so I could like redirect that into my music for inspiration or like topics or whatever. Especially with being in Portland when the Feds were here. I have a song coming out about that. And yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's our last question. And I wanted to ask, where can we look out for that song and look out for your music in general?
My name is Jolly Rapper. That's rapper with a W. You guys could Google me at Jolly Rapper, rapper with a W. I also make music at Jolly Rapper with a W. No, rapper, yeah, rapper with a W on all streaming platforms everywhere. Follow me on Instagram at Jolly Rapper, rapper with a W. And I don't know, just keep a lookout.
Yeah, awesome.
You're not gonna want to miss it. You're not gonna want to miss it.
I will second that. And thank you so much for being part of our event. It's awesome to have you. And everybody to our audience, stay tuned for 10 minutes from now where we will have our identity and culture panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. Hi to our panel participants and to the people who are watching our live stream. We just had on Jolly Rapper, so y'all should make sure to go check him out. And now we have our identity and culture panel. My name is Sadie McCrae. My pronouns are she or they, and I'm co-hosting with Nimmo. Nimmo, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you guys all today. So excited. My name is Nimmo, and I'm a Somali American / African American. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm interested in anything in the arts, particularly film related. And I love advocating for racial, social justice, and mental health.
Thank you so much. And here are our panelists. Would you all be able to give us your name, pronouns, and an identity you have that's important to you?
Hi, my name is Belize Nishimwe. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a refugee immigrant from East Africa. I was born in Tanzania and I'm from Burundi. And that identity of being African really has taught me a lot. And being a refugee immigrant, I'm passionate about immigrant rights. I'm passionate about the rights of marginalized groups and making sure that through hopefully my career goes in law and government, I can make sure that these marginalized groups are protected.
Yeah, totally. Jasper, would you be able to answer the question as well?
Yes, my name is Jasper. My pronouns are he, him. I'm 13 and I am transgender. So I am interested in advocating for trans rights, for LGBTQ plus rights, and for advocacy in those groups particularly.
Yeah, totally. And y'all kind of answered my second question in both of your prompts, but I'm just wondering, like, and we talked about this in yours a little bit, Belize, but I'm wondering, like, what are you passionate about, and what's like your view for the future for what you are passionate about, if that question.
Yeah, I'm passionate about, professions and government. I'm particularly passionate about international relations and law. law pertaining to immigrants and civil rights, and international affairs relating to bridging cultural gaps. And for me, because I'm part of two tribal groups in East Africa, I am particularly passionate about making sure that tribal economies are also elevated within the increasing Western markets, and making sure that they're able to preserve their cultures without having to assimilate to Western cultures to thrive both economically and socially. So that's something I'm passionate about. And so my current goal is just to get into college, so and study those, different topics.
Yeah, totally. Jasper, what about you?
My goals are to advocate for transgender and LGBTQ plus representation and advocacy, especially in the media and in art, such as in animation, comics, film, that kind of thing, because those are the things which I am personally very passionate about.
Yeah, totally. And Nimo, if you wanted to pick up the next question, I also wanted to let you know, I don't know if you can see the chat, but we can't spotlight you without your camera on, so you don't have to turn your camera off if you just want to be a voice, but I wanted to let you know. And then we're ready for your questions as well.
Okay, one of the questions I have for you guys is, how have identity and culture influenced your life and experiences? So, Belize, if you want to go first.
All right, so my identity as a Black woman, refugee immigrant, has affected how I see the world, or the way that I treat other people. I consider myself to be an empathetic person, so I always try to understand what different situations people are in, and how to help them. And so for me, like looking during this pandemic, just having that empathy for people's situation has been really important, since so many people have lost their jobs. Now more people are experiencing houselessness. So that caring nature that I take with me is also part of my culture, and this idea that we all raise one another. That whole quote about a village raises a child is so true in my culture. And so for me, I always think about, how can I help others? And so for what I want to do, that's how I think that I can continue to move that idea of helping other people, is through, areas in government, because those are the best ways to help people structurally, which is very important. And so that's just kind of, my identities have moved me towards a path in certain careers that I don't think I would have been as interested in if I wasn't in the situations that I am today.
Yeah, totally. Jasper, if you wanted to pick that one up as well.
Yeah, sorry, excuse me, it's a little out in the house at the moment. So my identity as a transgender person, I believe, has affected me and the way I see the world. It has it's not sort of easy, is what I'm trying to say. It's kind of, I don't know how I want to say this, but it's affected the way which I look at the world, which I look at the way people see me. And it's made me more, I believe it's made me more sort of more willing to advocate and more knowledgeable about not only trans and non-binary issues, but also about minority groups outside of that.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, and I'm wondering, like, outside of activism for both of you and like helping other communities, I'm wondering, like, how has your identity and culture affected like your personal life and your personal relationships?
I think in the things which I personally enjoy, I've learned to sort of see the way that these things connect more to minority stories. For example, things which I enjoy might connect to a trans experience or a non-binary experience, or even like the experience of a person of color, that, which I'm not sure if I can totally relate to that, but I do think that it's made me more willing to look into these issues and to see these connections.
I think that my identity has made me even more closer to people that like of so many different backgrounds, because being an immigrant doesn't necessarily mean you're like an African immigrant. I mean, I particularly am, but having that similar experience of being an immigrant with someone who is Latinx or who is Asian or who is white, having that immigrant aspect really helps connect you know, different groups of people. And it's nice to know that like wherever I turn, that, you know, there is someone who may not look like me but has a similar experience as me. So it has made me in a way, it has like kind of made me more vocal and more friendly, just because I know that wherever I go, I have someone with a similar experience as me, and it has made me more comfortable or more it has, you know, provided me a community in anywhere I go in America.
Yeah, I totally feel your answers for both of your questions. I feel like I have similar experiences to that. And Nimo, I think we had another question on that.
Yeah. How does your identity tie into culture around you? Jasper, if you want to go first.
Sure. Well, so I am ethnically, I am Jewish. I'm I how religiously I am agnostic, but I do still celebrate, for example, Jewish holidays, and I do believe that that is part of my culture. And I feel like, as with any religious group, there is a little bit of a disconnect between being like, some people in heavily religious groups might not accept those who are in the LGBTQ plus community. And I feel like that can sometimes be something that I worry about, but I do feel like I have found an accepting community and people who accept me for who I am, and no matter what part of the culture I am in.
Yeah, totally. I think it's interesting. I think that that's like a sort of, sorry, door just opened. I think that's a sort of common experience, like the two identity and culture going kind of opposing to each other. But I think it's awesome that you found a sort of, a sort of like accepting environment in that. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I kind of also have that hard balance because being a woman who's very vocal about what I believe and what I want, that's not something that's, you know, a norm for women within my culture. Um, but it is something that I think provides me strength. I think the women that I know who are African immigrants are so strong and so resilient. And so for me, even though that's not a cultural norm to be very vocal and always be outside of the home and, you know, working, I think that seeing other women who, you know, break those norms from my own culture has impacted the way that I also move. But also the fact that, you know, I think my culture is the reason that I continue to work so hard for the things that I do, just because I feel like I'm so connected to them that anything that, you know, any failure, any success, any joy that happens in my life is something that connects to their own joy. And so for me, they're kind of, sometimes there's that hard balance of they provide me that strength to keep going, but they also, you know, culturally there are some norms that seem are limiting for women and or for people who are me or or are similar to me. And so it's kind of hard, but I think that there's so much resiliency in my community and resiliency within my culture that I kind of embody that and continue to utilize that strength that they have, passed on to me. And I think there's that balance that you all were talking about.
Yeah, totally. And I'm wondering, like, sorry, my dog's very annoying. I'm wondering, since you both have a sort of similar experience with the conflicting identities, I'm wondering like how this, or like identities and culture, like how this has affected you personally and the way you like express and embrace your identity.
Well, I feel as though luckily we're not very orthodox, and so it hasn't affected the way I express myself that much, but I do have people who I know online who are in these sort of more orthodox sects, and it's not easy. It's kind of like people don't accept them and stuff. And for the way that I personally express myself, I feel as though I'm I'm almost sort of I'm almost sort of like not very open, not about not like open not open about being trans, although, but I mean, I have this more sort of desire to just sort of blend in, and I'm not sure if that's part of my culture or if that's just who I am. But I do think that sometimes worrying about how people will judge me, not just in my own culture, but in other cultures, other people that might have sort of contributed to that.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So I think I totally agree with that idea as well. I totally agree with what you said, because that is something that I also like struggle with, is this aspect of like, you want to understand and you want to also make sure that you are, understanding that where their ideas and cultures come from, and you're trying to respect that aspect. But it's very hard when you are, you know, for me, the way that it has affected me is that I I feel like I'm sometimes living like multiple identities in some way, where in some aspects I am, um, I'm supposed to be more reserved, and then in certain aspects I'm very loud, and so it kind of has affected the way that I try to find who I am. And so because I've had to take on so many different identities so young, as being both the woman of the house, or taking care of the house, and being me, it's kind of forced me to play these different identities. And so I totally agree with you all about this idea, or this, just the fact that you have to be respectful at the same time of certain things that you also may agree with within the culture, but then also having to balance, you know, trying to understand them and trying to find yourself. It's definitely difficult, and I'm still going through that journey of trying to find myself within these varying cultures. Because even within my African culture, there's also the American culture that we all live in currently. Um, there's also this other cultures that infuses with different aspects of who we should be. And so I'm still trying to find that part of me that can fit who I want to be.
Yeah, totally. I think it's important to note that you don't have to have it all figured out just yet. And it's, yeah, I don't know. I wanted to ask, are there any barriers that have stopped you from like going towards embracing your identity? And if so, are you comfortable sharing these with us?
I'd say mostly not anything, mostly in my particular own culture, but I do feel like this constant sort of fear, what will people say, is definitely a problem. Just in general, it's made me not a little more hesitant to embrace sides of myself that aren't the most typical, I'd say. It's made me hesitant to maybe act in a way that's less masculine for fear of being perceived as not trans enough. It's made me, I'd say, be worried about being open about being trans or doing anything that might signal, hey, I'm not cis, because I don't know, I'm just sort of worried, what will people think, what will people say, what will people do, what'll happen if I do these things. And I feel like that was also a barrier for me to accept that I was trans in the first place, because for a while I was thinking, oh no, I'm not trans because I can't be trans enough. I don't feel enough dysphoria, or I didn't show enough signs from a young enough age, which, by the way, is totally wrong, because I definitely did, looking back. But, I sort of got into this mindset where I was like, this isn't me because I don't do this. This isn't me because this doesn't happen. This, just in general, isn't me for whatever reason. And it made me very hesitant on things which I'm not sure if I should have been hesitant about in hindsight.
Yeah, I feel like I had the same sort of like coming out moment where I was like, I'm not queer enough to come out as queer, and so it was like this weird like, but obviously I was, everyone's enough to do whatever they want. But I'm kind of wondering, like, Jasper, like, how did you go about coming out? Like, how did you get past that block?
I just sort of I kind of just told myself after a while, okay, this is who I am for now. If it changes, that's fine, but I'm pretty sure it's not gonna. It has not changed in about like a year. It has not changed, but coming out was a very weird process for me, because it involved a lot of me being too terrified to actually say anything and just making the stupidest jokes possible that kind of hinted at, hey, I am man, trademark.
I think that's a very common experience. I don't think you're alone in that.
Yeah, like what Jasper said, I think that we tell ourselves certain things that limit ourselves from the opportunities or the success that we deserve. Um, and for me specifically, I was sometimes limited by my own family, just because, they have certain goals for you that don't align, and sometimes it's hard for them to see you deviate from those goals. But for me, I always wanted to show them that, I'm succeeding in this path that I'm taking, to show them that they don't need to um have all these different fears about what path I'm taking. And I think that above all, though, I think it's my own mind and my own like conscience telling me and limiting me from what I could be. So I'm still also working on that myself, of telling myself like I deserve these things that are happening, that are these good things that are happening in my life, or keep working on, keep trying. I think those positive things that I could be telling myself, I don't. So I need to work on that and make sure that, I'm not, trying to limit myself when the world is already sometimes trying to limit me. So, I think that, yeah, sometimes we're our biggest limiters.
I totally agree, and that's such a powerful perspective. Like, it was like it is always internal, no matter who influenced it. I don't know. I do want to ask though.
You're your own worst enemy.
This is very true. Yeah. I wanted to ask though, like, in the beginning when you were still kind of like discovering your own path, like, how did you get past other people's like your family's mindsets about you, and like really go on your own journey?
I'm still going through that because I don't think my family still likes the path that I'm taking. But I think that for me, I always set a goal for myself and I always, reach for that goal no matter what. And the little successes that I have along the way are proof for me that I am on the right path. And so sometimes as youth, it's so hard because it seems like when we are born, our parents already have a set path for us, and we are terrible children if we don't follow that path. But, sometimes we just have, even as young as like, you know, 5, 6, or 7, we sometimes have to make our own, like, set our own goals. And I think that, the fact that if you work hard and if you strive towards that goal, I think that, there's never a reason for your family not to like it because if you're, obviously, if it's a good thing, not say, bad goal, I don't know what a bad goal would be, but, just making sure that you're doing something that is right for you. And sometimes I think it's hard for parents or even family to understand that just because this has been right for you doesn't mean that it's right for me. So I think sometimes you just have to, even if they still don't like it like me, you just have to keep rolling with it, and sooner or later they're gonna catch drift and come to your path.
Those are very inspiring words, Belize.
That's such a good message. And you both sort of covered this in your answers, but I did want to ask, like, how did you overcome these barriers? And like what I'm more wondering, because we sort of answered the overcoming, like what supported you in doing this? Like, was there friends, families, like mentors, like was there something like that that helped you? Or even like, I don't know, like TV show characters, like was there something that helped you get to that point?
I overcoming these barriers in my own head. Mostly, I think looking at stories from other trans people actually did help a lot because it sort of showed me like, okay, well, you're still trans because this happened, because et cetera, and uh, it made me think sort of, well, if this person can be trans but they don't have this or they don't have this or they have this or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or this person is trans and they're like me, they're similar to me, then maybe maybe I'm trans too. And maybe these things which I've been thinking of, which are like, oh, this is why you aren't actually real. And they're just kind of self-imposed.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely a step I took towards that mental, moving like past that mental barrier that I put on myself. And also for me, I try to find as much representation as I could within government that related to me. So one person particularly is AOC. I love her just because I think that even though she is Latinx, she is an like understands that immigrant story, and I think that it's so powerful also Ilhan Omar to have you know minority women in government killing it. So um I love to
Yeah, I
see that.
love that.
Yeah, I love that. And, Michelle Obama, let me just say, queen. So she was like, yeah, I think all these women inspired me. And I think that just shows me that we need more representation in government of different people because to be able to see a variety of people in government that I've seen, because there's not that many, but what I've seen, it's been so moving for me because it tells me that you know I also should be in that spot. I also can be in that spot, and I think that's very important to show different people that they can be anything that they want to be. And I think we need more representation in government, in film, of everyone. And so for me, that's what I look to for even that mental barrier to tell myself, if she could do it, I can do it too. So I think that I think people don't really they underestimate the power of representation. And I think as a young kid growing up, just seeing Michelle Obama be, you know, be in government, I was just like, and kill it. I was just, oh, wow. So I think the best thing for me has been finding that representation that I want for what I expect my future story to be.
I'm so excited for you to get up there and me to be like, I did this panel with you like 20 years ago, I have to say. And that does bring me to like, there's such a lack of like trans representation in government too. I'm just like,
be like, I was there too. I watched.
yeah, we can just like look at police.
When I'm like hunched over in an apartment eating chicken nuggets, I can be like, oh man, I was there too.
Yes, no, I mean, it's a great fate for us to have.
Okay, I have another question for you all. How does your community/identity/background impact your decisions and outlook? Politics, activism, etc. Jasper, if you want to answer this first.
Sure. So I think that my identity has caused me, like I said, to look for representation in the media which I consume. It's made me want, I think, more to become someone who creates that kind of media, because I know that representation is something which is really important to me, and I feel like I want to at someday become the kind of person who can provide that kind of representation to people who are like me. And I feel like that's not something which I would really strive towards were I not trans, or it wouldn't really be something I paid attention to. I'd be like, oh man, this character in this piece of media is trans, that's pretty neat, and then I wouldn't really think any more of it. Or I'd be like, oh man, why are they making all of the darned media characters LGBT? This is so sad. But I feel like actually being trans and having that experience and having people like me and seeing those people has made me strive to see that representation and to include that representation.
Yeah, well, now we know where Belize and I will look for you, is making your trans comics. And I wanted to ask Jasper, you gonna say?
I said, or TV show or
TV show.
Or movie or whatever.
I should say I would watch it. I don't see much trans representation anyway. I wanted to ask, like, is there like a piece of representation that like helped you a lot, or that you just look to?
Well, I'm very big on animation in general. So, Steven Universe was one of the shows which I was really big on. And I think I was starting to realize I was trans maybe around the time which the Change Your Mind and the movie were airing, which, if you don't know, the Change Your Mind arc includes some pretty heavy trans metaphors. I also think that Infinity Train, which came out a little later, was one of the things that helped me as well. The second season is very much one large trans and non-binary metaphor. And Gravity Falls, weirdly enough, was actually one of the things which helped me a lot, because the protagonist, Dipper, gives me some pretty heavy trans vibes, and because there's an episode early in season 1, Dipper versus Manliness, which is just a complete trans guy mood.
Yeah, I remember that episode a lot. I loved Gravity Falls.
Really good show.
Yeah, my best friend, who's also on panels, would love that you said that. I will let them know. Belize, I wanted to know your answer to this question as well.
Oh, could you repeat the question? Because I'm so into the conversation, I lost it.
Totally fine. Nimo, do you want to take that, or do you want me to? Okay, I have. So like, how does your community and your identity, background, all that, like, impact your decisions and outlook, whether like politically and like through activism or personally?
I I think I'm just more aware of issues that affect marginalized groups. Um, I think that it has affected my views, obviously, on immigration. It has affected my views on abortion rights. Um, there's so many identities that I think, like tribal rights. I think that making sure that tribal groups maintain their culture and are allowed to maintain their culture within Western worlds, that has affected my view on that. And I think that um, I think just like being in a situation that or having identities that have often been so oppressed, I think I'm able to relate much more to other groups that have also been oppressed. So that has also affected my views on other issues, or for me that has allowed me to um, you know fight for other people's issues and make sure that if I'm fighting for them, I know that they're fighting for me. And it's this idea that um, I think that it has allowed me to relate to so many different people because, if I say, I'm oppressed, girl, we're oppressed too, and it's this idea that we are all, in a sense, trying to strive for better for our own communities, but through a togetherness motto. I don't know how to describe it, but it's definitely made me more open to different views. It has made me more open to different understandings of different things. And for me, being a Black woman specifically, has made me have strong stances on police brutality. And so I think, I don't know, I feel like I have so many identities that have allowed me to be more empathetic towards so many different situations and so many different people. And so for me, it's just kind of has developed me into an understanding kind individual who helps others, as well as helps yourself. Obviously, elevate one another.
Definitely. I wanted to just extend the last question to you as well. Like, is there a piece of representation that was important to you and embracing your identity? Like, you're muted, by the way.
Black Panther is such great representation because I feel like it's the first representation that I saw since arriving to the US like 13 years ago. This is crazy because I think Black Panther came out in 2018, but I think Black Panther was the first film I saw that had nothing to do with slavery, or it was just crazy because I didn't see Black people in chains. So I was like, is this a Black film or something happening? Because it's just like every film that I saw Black people in, they were either enslaved people, or they were segregated, or they were fighting for civil rights. But this was more about, it was showing the resiliency within the Black community. It was showing the um, interconnectedness of the entire Black diaspora. And I love that. But also a great new representation is Jingle Jangle. I don't know if you've watched that on Netflix. It's so good. And I think that is such a great film because it also shows Black people as intellectuals, which is something that is rarely seen. It shows Black people as intellectuals. It shows them as engineers, visionaries, amazing parents. I feel like that was just a movie that really made me cry. So I think that we're slowly getting to that representation, but I think, it's still missing the mark for me in regards to representation. And I definitely agree that I also don't think I've seen a lot of LGBTQ plus representation that isn't overly sexualized or, fit for, the male gaze or the white gaze. So it's just, so I think they still need to work on that, but.
No, I totally agree. Like, the fact that I know all the pieces of media that you're talking about means that there needs to be more. Totally. And we are closer to the end than I thought we were. But yeah, that the first thing you said sort of reminded me of like I don't know, like at the beginning of all the big protests and stuff, a lot of people, like, there was a slogan about like prioritizing Black joy, and I thought that was such a good like it's not just like the struggling, like it's the joy as well. I thought that was awesome. So to our last question before our conclusion, I'm wondering, like, actually, I think we've sort of already answered this one. So maybe it's just about how your lived experiences have kind of shaped your vision for the future. But I think we sort of covered this one, which is good. Nimo, if we wanted to move on to our conclusion question.
Yes. For you all today, what advice would you give to others struggling with their identity?
I think putting yourself around many groups of different people is the best part of trying to find your identity, even though it may be confusing at first because it's like all these different identities are coming at you. But it's also great to be able to be around varying identities, because then you can find the ones that you most relate with and really listen to everyone's experiences and see, learn more about how your identity not only affects you, but how it affects other people. And that's the best way to learn, what that identity will mean for you. But it's very difficult to say, because I think that we are all, even if we are 100 years old, we are still trying to find ourselves, and we're still trying to build who we are, through our entire lives. And I think it's just a process. I think that being willing and being open to accepting the different opportunities that come to you is the best way to really find your identity. Because for me, I didn't think I was like a writer, but I love to write now and I'm a poet. So I think that it's important that you really are willing to be open to varying identities, varying passions, varying parts of who you are that you haven't been able to explore. So just be open.
I would say don't let anyone else tell you who you are. If you feel like you are something, but someone else says, "Oh no, you need to do this to be that thing," don't listen to them. Like if you think, "Oh man, I think I might be non-binary because I feel like I have no gender." And then someone else says, "No, you can't be non-binary because if you're non-binary, that means you have to feel like you're equally male and equally female." You can tell them, "No, this is how I feel. This is who I am." And another thing is, I'd say look for those who are like you and surround yourself with them. Listen to other experiences, but give yourself a good network to help you and to support you. And I would say also, if there's something that you want to see, if there's a piece of representation that you feel like the world needs and it doesn't exist, make it. Be what you need. Be be that piece of representation. Make that piece of representation. Do it. Become what you need. If you think, "Oh man, I love cartoons with people who are gay and black, but there are none in the world," make that a thing. Make that happen. Make a comic or make a show, or even try and become or try and pitch your idea when you can, and become what the world needs. Make what the world needs, because if you just wait for someone else to do it, it's pretty likely that it's not going to happen, or that it's going to take a lot longer to happen, or that no one else is going to think of it and be like, "Oh man, we should do this," because that's your idea and it's exclusive to you. Trademark.
Yeah, no, I just totally agree with that. And I feel like that, like the last sentiment that you had there is kind of what Youth Power PDX is. And it's like, we want to see intersectional youth power and we want to see artists coming together. And so we make it happen. And I think that's awesome. And I just love that, like, you two who do come from very different backgrounds have very like similar answers or answers that really go together. And I think that's awesome. And I think y'all are amazing. If we want to go into our conclusion, Nima.
Lastly, is there anything else you'd like to say here today? Any organizations or movements you guys want to shout out?
If you're like me and you like cartoons and you want something where the entire cast is Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and there's also a gay main character, I'd say watch Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beast on Netflix. I'm just gonna tell you that because it's really good. That's my one thing.
I think I actually got that same recommendation in the youth group. I think I have to watch it now.
It's a requirement. It's just a really good show in general, and you should watch it. I don't have anything else to say, so I'm just gonna say the same thing over and over again.
I would actually, you mentioned Black Joy, which is something that is very important. And right now I work with an organization called I Am More. And there is a website called Spreading Black Joy. And this is like a campaign that we're doing where we are filming, the Black Nod, the Black Gap, and we're doing different projects to really push the idea of Black joy, because that is very important. Black people are more than their oppression. They are Black joy. And so if you want to learn more about that or get, join with that project, definitely, go to the website and check it out.
Could you give us the name again?
Spreading Black Joy, and I can actually send it to you all. So if you ever want to put it on your website, that can happen. But yeah.
Yes, please send it. I'd love that.
Okay, thank you to our wonderful panelists, and return to our events, our evening one at 9 p.m. for some music, dance, and poetry. For more information on today's panelists and later performances, check out our website. It's awesome. youthpowerpdx.org. Thank you all today.
Y'all are the best. So awesome. And if y'all want to watch Belisa's poetry from, I think, yesterday or the 20th, you can check on our website and go to her page on our website. Yeah, y'all are the best, and this was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.